All right, today we've got Power Slap Road to the Title 3 contestant, Devin Jenkins. How you doing, my man?
Oh,
Oh,
hey, can you hear
I
me
got you
now?
there. Yeah, I can hear you now. How you doing,
I
dude?
said, what's going on, bro? Glad to be here.
Awesome, man. Great to have you on the show. I want to start back in the early years. How are you growing up, my man? I know you said you came from California. Talk to me what life was like there.
Um, it was I had my mom, my dad, one younger brother. Me and my brother are 4 years apart. Um, I would say a little bit more of a rougher childhood. Not like nothing too crazy. My parents tried to provide the best they could.
Mhm.
My dad worked in corrections, so that's actually what I wanted to do for a long time. I even have a criminal justice degree. But and my mom also worked in corrections, so it would have been like a federal corrections would have been like an easy thing to transition to. Um, but yeah, growing up in California, you know, mom, dad taking care of me, brother, grew up pretty religious household actually. So like me doing power slap is definitely out of the realm of more of like a Christian uh, background. Um,
Awesome, my man. Athletically, did you thrive early? And what sports did you play?
yeah, actually, I played baseball. Started at t-ball all the way up into like little league baseball. I ran track and played basketball in high school. Basketball is kind of really the thing I stuck out at. I even tried football. One season of spring football. It was fun and I liked it. I liked the aggressiveness of it. They just ran a run based offense and then they wanted me to be a receiver, so I would like run down the field knowing that I wasn't going to get the ball. They're like, yeah, keep doing that. So um, yeah, basketball is really where I excelled. I played from my freshman year on varsity all the way up to my last year on varsity. Then I tried to walk on at Central Florida Community College. I got a little walk on, and then before I really got to like play, I used to practice. I kind of had a transition in my life where I decided to join the military.
Awesome, man. I'll get in the military part in a second, but I got to ask you, how many routes did you run before they threw the ball to you?
That's funny, man. I never got the ball thrown to me. I would run down the field, like hit like a little block, and then yeah, that was it. I would say I ran like 8 to 10 plays, and I was like, "Am I ever gonna touch the ball?" And they're like, "Yeah, but we got this great running back," and I was like, "So that means no."
That's too funny. So no wonder you didn't stay with football. You didn't get the ball all season.
All season, bro.
Too
So yeah.
funny. Too funny. All right, talk to me about the military. How did that shape you? How did it harden you? And did it help prepare you for getting into power slap years later?
So I was a combat engineer, uh, slash EOD. I had two jobs, which is kind of finding IEDs, deactivating IEDs, looking for the people that make them. And IEDs, for those who don't know, is just like an improvised explosive device, just a short term for it. So like a bomb. So basically, looking for bombs and looking for the people that made them. I did a deployment to Afghanistan in 2012, 2013. I say that probably was like a big turning point for my life. Spending a whole year away from my family, my friends, and that probably toughens you up more than anything, honestly. Um, I would say that also the job itself probably prepared me for power slap. um, you're going into a situation where you don't know if this ID will go off. You don't know how it's set. You could be going into it and they could have spotters looking out, and then as soon as you get close they could detonate. So it's like a really tense situation, but I found that um, remaining calm through those situations is the best way to handle it. You gotta be able to calm your nerves.
Gotcha. Any interesting stories you can tell us? Any things that you like to tell from your deployment? Is there any, like, what's the most shocking thing you've seen?
So shocking things, I can't say those. But funny story. I was someone who was pretty rebellious in the army. So I used to get punished pretty often. There'd be like, the punishment usually is like push-ups, like, let's make you do 50 push-ups. And I'd be down there like, I love doing push-ups. Give me some more, give me some more. So they stopped giving me push-ups as punishment. And then they would make me do things like there was one time I had to wear my Kevlar helmet everywhere I went, into the chow hall, on mission. Every time I stepped outside, I had to put the helmet on my head, and that was more embarrassing than the push-ups, and every other punishment that I ever got.
That's hilarious, man. Getting kind of out of the military, did you transition into the personal training? Was that kind of the first job you had afterwards, getting back into more civilian life?
Yeah, when I was in the military, that's kind of when I fell in love with fitness, really. That's where I put on my most muscle mass. That's when I learned the most. You have a lot of downtime.
Mm-hmm.
You have a lot of downtime, so you want to like read, work out, play video games. Yeah, you get creative in your downtime.
Awesome, man. So talk to me, what motivated you to join Power Slap?
I think the thing that motivated me the most is coming from my like training background, right? I've worked with athletes for 15 years now, so I have a really like extensive knowledge about what athletes need to do to prepare for their sport. And I was like, this is a new sport. Nobody's really in it. Nobody's really coaching it. Nobody's really, knows how to train, right? I mean, literally, like you're getting hit, and your only defense is bracing. So like you want to make sure that the muscle groups and things like that are bracing are like prepared for the sport. So I just felt like it'd be an interesting challenge for me. One, coming from a military background, I'm all about accepting challenges and pushing my limits and really seeing, when I'm faced, backs against the wall, what I'm gonna do.
Awesome, man. You could have talked a little bit about, the training aspect. Like, do you feel like you look at it a little bit differently than maybe some of these other guys? Like, is there anything that you've dissected in it that you think gives you an edge over anybody else?
Tons of things. I think that through the eyes that I see the sport is I'm looking at like biomechanically how we're moving, right? Are we taking some rotational things from baseball, right? Are we taking some rotational things from golf, right? Are we applying some of the things we know from fight sports as far as neck training and hand-eye coordination goes? And like, if you're not someone that has literally for years looked at the intricate details of how an athlete moves, when I say like, hey man, this is going to be a great training thing for you to do, people may not, believe it or jump on it right away. But it is coming from years of an experience and knowledge, that, yeah, these training tips are going to help. And I hope that that's really what I can get across to people is that, like, take this seriously. This is not just an entertainment thing. This is a sport, and you have to prepare your body as such.
Absolutely. Just a question in regards to slapping from your perspective. Do you think there's more value in the rotation, so your torso rotating versus momentum shifting side to side? Is there one that you think delivers more damage on the offensive side of the strike?
I know that there's a lot of people that do more of the weight shift. They shift the weight from left to right and then follow through, right? But our spines are powerful locomotion movers. Like they are literally our first line of where we move from. You know what I mean? If you move, right, it's going to start at your spine. Then all your muscles and things around it, your tendons will also move with how the spine moves and a little bit of like counteracting action. So I think that if you could put both together in like kind of like a smooth balance of not too much rotation and not too much, like weight shift, like a little balance of both, that will deliver the most powerful strike.
Gotcha. Talk to me about the, kind of the mechanics of your strikes. I mean, it was very different from what we've seen before. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you went right on one. And then I remember the very long pause.
Right.
I don't know if that was just dramatic. I don't know if that was on purpose or if that was just for the cameras. They dragged it out a little bit longer than it actually was. But talk to me through that and what was kind of your thinking behind it?
So, it was definitely more of like a technique. I was moving from more of a strength perspective, right? Think of like if you have a big spring and then you compress that spring down as tight as you can compress that spring, and then you let that shit go, right? That's kind of the thought process that I was using, right? Was getting my muscles all nice and tight and getting everything loaded up and then letting it unwind, right? Letting it unspring like a big ass spring. I've actually changed my technique just a little bit because I'm trying to use more, it's called the stretch shortening cycle. And it's something that you would use like plyometrically, like when you jump up and down, right? You're using like that elasticity in that jump to help you load up from jump to jump. So I'm actually changed my technique a little bit more to use more of a elasticity approach, right? So it does have a little bit more of a spring in it, but not so much of a delay. So it will come a little bit faster, but I still think loading up the muscles appropriately, it also gives you like a landmark, right? So like that you're doing the same slap every time. Like if you feel everything getting tight, like in your back and in your legs, right? And then you can unload that, then you can replicate that. That's the thing that I don't think some of these guys understand is like, how can you replicate a slap? Is you have to have like a technique down in your mind, in your body, and you have to have like little landmarks or markers of where I need to turn to every time so that you can do it repeatedly over and over again.
Yeah, couldn't agree with you more. Talk to me about the day in the life of you right now as you're obviously balancing your career as a personal trainer and as an aspiring power slap striker.
My life as a personal trainer is pretty busy already. I have a very good client base. I have only been in Atlanta for probably like 4 years now, which is not a long time for a trainer to establish a network, but I've done a really good job at that. So, Monday through Friday, I'm training. I really only train like maybe 3 or 4 days a week. I'm not training people every single day. Most of my training is business owners, doctors, professional athletes. So they want to train in the morning. So I get up at like 4 or 5 in the morning. I have some clients that start at 5:30. And then usually by like 1 to 2 o'clock, I'm done. On Sundays, I have like some of the younger guys and that they get out of school later, so I have them at like 5 or 6. But that's just like 1 or 2 athletes a day. So it's not my afternoons. I'm not pretty busy. Like I said, mostly mornings. Train my clients, done by 2. A couple after that, and then I just put that on repeat, bro. And then in between that, I'm making sure that I train every single day. Like, and with that comes sort of a balance, right? And that's kind of like my specialty is like, if you do it every single day, train every single day, you could overtrain very easily. And that's where some of these guys are getting their biceps hurt, pulling pectoral muscles. When I was in the house, man, everybody was hurt, whether they want to admit it or not. There was necks were hurting, arms were hurting, shoulders were hurting, out of place. So like being able to take care of your body, that's going to be a big deal, but that's where the balance comes in. And I can program my workouts and do some days I do slat training, right? Only slat training. And then some days I'm incorporating weights, right? And then some days I'm just working on my mobility or working on my flexibility or stretching. And all of those components, in addition to like my nutrition and my sleep, and my hydration, that in itself is a whole nother job.
For sure. I mean, you touched on a lot of interesting points there, because obviously, you get in a room with 20 plus other guys. Guys want to ego lift, guys want to show, that they're tougher than the next guy. Do you kind of find yourself taking more of a veteran role and being like, hey guys, we don't need to be going full out every day in training because we've actually getting ready to fight?
They didn't really show much of it on the show, and that part kind of threw me. I was like, damn, man, y'all didn't show the good shit where I'm over here, helping people, I even helped Pono out when he broke his hand. I assessed it for him. I looked at it and I was like, hey man, you need to go get this checked out by the doctor. And if the doctor says that I can help you, then I help you. Because that shit was pretty fucked up.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of the guys, their necks were hurting, their backs were hurting. And me, being the guy I am, I brought like a couple bands, couple massage balls, like the massage gun. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I had like a routine every time. And that's where like these guys were fucking up, is like, yeah, it's cool, we're on a show and stuff like that. But really, this is an athletic base. We are athletes trying to get on a show or help bring a new sport, right? Or even excel at that sport. And a lot of them are just like wanting to put on entertainment, right? They wanted to, get drunk every night and yada, yada. And I was like going to bed super early, which made it really hard. I struggled in the house. I go to bed early. I wake up. I was like, there was workouts I was doing in the pool and stuff like that. I was stretching, like, all these things that people were missing out on. But again, I don't see how, when this is a sport. And I think they just got lost in the house, like with the TV and with the cameras. And then I tried to remind those guys, and I helped a lot of them. But like I said, they didn't show that.
Yeah. Some good insight for sure. Without giving too much away of what's coming up, on the show, but what can people expect to see from you in the future as an athlete?
I would expect to see more training videos on how to train properly as a power slap athlete, how to recover properly as a power slap athlete. And honestly, just seeing me get better and better as an athlete. That's what they're gonna see. And what I'm trying to do now is get into more of a velocity based training. So like I can track my numbers a little bit better. Like there's a way to, without the power cube, track how fast your arm is hitting an object, right? And that way I can know velocity wise how hard that I'm hitting. And then that way I can, when I go hit the power cube again, right, I kind of have an idea already how hard I'm hitting it, as opposed to, most of those guys are just hitting it up there. They have no idea. Like, I'm trying to make power slap not just an entertainment business, right? Because I get that there's always the entertainment side of it, but like really see that you have to put in hard work, dedication. You have to care about your body. And I'm just going to lead by example. And I promise you, everybody's going to follow along.
Awesome. And that's great to hear. One last one for you. If you, from a striking standpoint, if you take power and you take speed, where should a proper strike be in the blend of both?
Yeah, power and speed. I think strength and speed would be the two comparisons, right? Like strength would be like if I take a bench press and I load a bunch of weight on there, boom, and I do 1 to 2 reps, right, at like 80 or 90% of my 100% max, right? Whereas power would be more like lighter weight and like 20 to 30% of your 100% max and moving it with like intense speed, right? I think that a good strike has elements of both, because your windup, right, you can use that and contract the muscles back and come through with some good power. But as you hit that object, you're definitely going to have to come through with some strength and press through that object. Because I know when Pono hit me, even on the first time, like he hurt his hand for sure. like I was solid. And I know other guys hurt their shoulders and some other guys hurt their hands as well. But when you're hitting these guys' faces, they are not trying to move. So you were thinking of hitting like a solid object.
I hear you. Awesome, man. Appreciate you joining me. Where can people follow you along in their journey? On what platforms, and what's your social handles?
So follow me on Instagram. It's Jinx SA. That's Jinx Strength and Aesthetics, but I shortened it, right? And Devin Jenkins on Facebook, DevenJenkins. And I'm also on TikTok. It'd be Big Jinx. That's my stage name, Big Jinx. If you just type that in, and it's 2 X's, Big JINXX. And you can follow me on TikTok too.
Awesome, man. Appreciate you joining me. Look forward to seeing everything you are going to be bringing to that Power Slap stage.
Appreciate it, bro.